Well, hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePooler.com. We're going to use the Geometric Flakes Cover Plate in this die with the cut and stick adhesive sheets. This adhesive paper comes in 6x6 sheets, and it makes it really easy for die cutting and gluing your die cut pieces onto your cardstock. So the way I'm going to use it with this cover plate is first I am cutting my cardstock 5.5 by 4.25, and then I'm going to cut my adhesive sheets the same size. Then I'm going to peel off one side of the adhesive sheet and stick it right down onto that paper. This basically makes my cardstock now a giant sticker. I'm going to trim off the excess there, and then I'll get our sticker cardstock all ready for embossing. I'm going to grab my Versamark ink pad, and I am going to just dab it onto my cardstock all over the whole piece of cardstock. And this will make it tacky, so then when I pour on my Royal Crush Wow embossing glitter, it will stick to this piece of cardstock. I am going to heat it, and you will see the powder as it heats up. It liquefies and it turns to a glittery embossed background. Then when I was all finished, I noticed a couple spots that I missed. So one tip, make sure that your background is fully embossed and you don't have any stray powdery glitter left or embossing glitter, because when you take your Versamark pad and you tap it back onto that glittered piece, if you have any embossing glitter that has not been thoroughly embossed, you're going to pick it up with your Versamark pad. It's going to stick to the pad. Now, a remedy for that is get a piece of tape and tap it. Take the tape and tap it right onto your Versamark pad, and it will remove the glitter. But to avoid that in the first place, just make sure your piece of cardstock is totally embossed. Okay, you guys, so the next part is important, and it depends on how you want to use this. So I am sending this through my Big Shot or my Spellbinders, whatever die cutting machine you have is going to work. I'm sending it through a bunch of times, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And on this one, I think I may have even used a piece of copy paper as a shim in there. Now this is a detailed die, and it's going through the cardstock and it's going through the cut and stick paper. And so it's very, very thick. And so to get it to cut through all of those layers, it's a little bit of work. So you may want it cut through all the way and you may not want it cut through all the way. Kind of depends. So this first one that I'm doing, it did end up cutting all the way through, as you can see. So I'm able to use both the positive and the negative of this cover plate die cut, and I'm using my pokey tool thingy just to peel the sticker backing off of all of the inside pieces. So these are the pieces that you would pop out once you die cut and discard them, but we're not going to discard them. So the sticker paper is off of all of those little inside pieces, and I'm just adding it to a card front size, and I'm turning it over and I'm pressing down really hard because now all those little inside pieces have adhesive on them, so they are going to stick to the cardstock. And then I'm going to use my scissors just to give them a little nudge there and help pop them out, because remember I did the embossing glitter over the top, so it's almost kind of like when you paint a window and you paint it shut. So it's kind of embossed shut on there, so I have to kind of break the seal a little bit. So I'm just working each piece out. Takes just a minute. It's kind of like, you know, putting a puzzle together. And then in the end, I have this gorgeous background with all of the little negative pieces that came out of this cover plate. So there is one, and then I can take the positive piece, pull the backing off, and now I have that as a sticker. And I'm just going to add it to my 5.25 by, or 5.5 by 5.25, no, 4.25 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. And now I have the negative and the positive, so I can make two cards. I'm going to use my paper cutter just to trim off a little bit because I didn't get it stuck down exactly perfect. I was a little wonky there, so I'm just going to trim that up a bit. So for the next technique piece, I didn't crank this one back and forth quite as many times, so it did not cut through the backing. So the backing comes off as one piece, and then I have my die cut piece. So I'm just going to line this up on a 5.5 by 4.25. And then I'm going to poke through and stick those negative pieces on there. Now you can see some of them have already fallen out, and I can retrieve them and lay them in and set them in and get them in there too. But I ended up kind of liking the look of only some of the inside pieces being in there. So I didn't worry about gathering all of those bits that fell out. And then I didn't push it down so hard so that the positive piece stuck down, so I was able to move that to another card. And so again, just like the first one, we're able to make 2 cards out of this, one with the positive piece and one with the negative. And this one was done with Versamark ink and Something Borrowed embossing glitter. So just like the others, I'm going to attach this to a card front size piece of cardstock. And then I had a couple boo-boos on both of these pieces, these technique pieces. So I'm just going to trim off a little bit on my paper cutter, and then that will help kind of dictate a little bit where my design goes with my finished card. So you'll see those at the end. I'll show all of these cards finished off. Okay, so another way to use this. So I took the positive piece of the die cut and I just did rose gold embossing powder on there. And then I'm taking a piece of 5.5 by 4.25 inch cardstock and adding my cut and stick paper to it. So I'm making it a sticker. So now I'm adding my emboss piece, the positive, and I'm just going to trim off the edges there and get rid of that excess sticky. And then I'm going to take the Parissa embossing powder. This is a very interesting powder. It has fine powder in it and it also has chunky. It's really, really cool. So I'm just going to sprinkle this all over my card, and it is going to stick into all the little sticky places where my cut and stick paper is now. I'm turning it over, just kind of pressing down a little to make sure that embossing powder gets stuck all over that stickiness. And then because it has some big chunks in it, I'm going to start from underneath and start that heating process. And then you'll see me, I kind of go back and forth from being underneath and being on top. And if you look closely, you can see this Parissa embossing powder is absolutely stunning, and it gives a really cool marbled look. So that rose gold on the positive piece and the Parissa on the negative just gives a really stunning, I think this is perfect for like anniversary. It would be a great wedding card, and you'll see how I ended up finishing it off at the end of this video. It doesn't need much, right? So there are many ways to finish these cards off. The backgrounds are so stunning on them that you really can go super simple and the card will pack such a punch. Or you can really embellish it up a lot. It just totally depends on your mood. So the first one, I just did a black layer behind it and a hello die on top. And then the second one, I just did a note of thanks from that stamp set and did a couple little red hearts on there, a few die cut hearts. And then the next, I die cut smile straight through the technique panel, and then did You Make Me as a little extra sentiment strip. And then I used the Joy Wreath and I die cut it twice, once in white and then once with Flirty Fuchsia. I did direct to paper on my cardstock first and then die cut it, and then did that little bird, and it's just adorable. And then next for the Something Borrowed, I used a note of thanks stamp set again and just did thanks across the top and the bottom, tied a little piece of twine. And then for the second one, I think this one might be my favorite, the Happy 15th Birthday. That comes from a new collection that we have out. It's our Cake and Confetti collection. And then I just colored in those balloons from the Birthday Icon stamp set. And then this embossed, oh my gosh, look at this, you guys. Super simple. I just added the Milestone birthday sentiment mix, the 50 die cut from those numbers, and the And Fabulous, and that's all you need for this gorgeous card. I did add a couple of the Vegas Baby sequins to finish it off. Gosh, so many ways to use this die, am I right? So if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. I thank you for giving me a thumbs up and leaving me a comment. When you guys interact with my videos, it lets YouTube know that you like them, and I so appreciate that. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and thanks for being here.